they were fired. That as this year, we have seen the implosion of numerous VTuber agencies, including the likes of Walkter and Akio Air. But now today we turn to AuroraLiveVR, now being accused by former talents and managers of predatory tactics, exploitation, intimidation, and the hiring of underage talents. This VTuber agency is not to be confused with another VTuber agency, that being Aurora Live Production, based out of Taiwan, as AuroraLiveVR is based out of the People's Republic of China and has not once, not twice, but now 3 times attempted to enter the English-speaking market. That as this VTuber agency states they have approximately 200 active VTubers, the vast majority of those based out of China, as over the last year and a half, they have made inroads to the English-speaking market with one of their talents, that being Serafina, the singing jackal demigod VTuber officially of their China branch, but appealing to viewers worldwide, with many of their cover songs reaching hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube, and with their most popular entry, Golden Hour, racking up 4.5 million views. And as of February of this year, AuroraLiveVR had a roster of 40 English-speaking talents. Only then, 1 month later in March of this year, to have fired all of them along with their English management. And now upon their 3rd relaunch attempt into the English-speaking market, AuroraLiveVR is sporting 3 talents, 2 of which who are Lillian Shizukan and Yumi Hikari. Lillian going on to make this hiatus announcement last week, saying starting on November 20th, I will be taking an extended hiatus due to health reasons. Saying further, throughout the 1 year I have streamed due to numerous breaks and hiatuses, it is within me and AuroraLiveVR's best interest for me to take an extended break in order to fully recover. And then days later, Lillian would join Yumi on stream for a just chatting session that then became a tell-all about AuroraLiveVR behind the scenes. Yumi having only been with AuroraLiveVR for a month and a half, and then describing complications with a 3rd talent with AuroraLiveVR's English branch, this talent allegedly talking about Yumi and Lillian behind their backs to one another. This quickly being discovered by Yumi and Lillian, as they of course also talk with each other. The 2 talents going on to request from AuroraLiveVR management that they do not have to interact with this 3rd talent any longer. Management originally agreeing that they can cease communications, only then to ask of these 2 talents to continue to collab with the 3rd VTuber, even though no apology had been made by this 3rd VTuber. This then leading to the talents to talk about more of the complications they've experienced with AuroraLiveVR, stating that even though they are with a quote-unquote VTuber agency, they feel like indies, claiming that AuroraLiveVR is not interested in buying any advertisements for their talents until they hit 10,000 YouTube subscribers. The request for advertisements being brought up 3 separate times by the talents, with Yumi then being told, yes, they are willing to buy an ad, but then she'll have to do something else for them, with Yumi getting the impression that if the ad doesn't work, that she'll be in trouble. This talent further explaining that they are expected to gain 5,000 subscribers in 3 months, or earn at least $300 per month. And while these talents want to be clear, they have no ill will toward their direct management, and more so are taking issues with the company based out of China, they still did experience management complications, like not receiving a reply on the advertisements request for over 2 weeks. The talents also explaining that they had heard of contractual agreements that Serafina has with AuroraLiveVR, claiming that AuroraLiveVR does very little for her, as the intellectual property is actually the talent's and did not even provide her with the model. Worst of all, the company has never fixed the monetization for Serafina's YouTube channel, having never linked the account to an AdSense account, and further meaning that these millions and millions of views could not offer ad revenue, as also memberships and super chats are not turned on this channel, a fix that AuroraLiveVR has still not addressed. Further explaining, it was described that the talents are expected to stream 60 hours a month, but that AuroraLiveVR themselves provide provide little to no assets or backup for these streams. The talents themselves needing to pay not only for their logos, overlays, and emotes, but even when the company did promise to give these assets to the talents, they provided instead a request form. And upon receiving a logo back, it was not like at all anything that was requested by the talent. As you see, AuroraLiveVR actually has a number of artists and modelers on hand to provide their services to the talents, but at a cost out of pocket from the talents. And as it turns out, you do not need to be a part of AuroraLiveVR to hire these artists. The agency actually linking to this Google Commissions document listing all of their artists. This document itself running nearly 125 pages long and showing full portfolios of AuroraLiveVR's artists, and yet very rarely offering social media links to these artists. As others would come forward and explain to TVS, many of these artists are actually found to be cheaper if directly contacted instead of going through AuroraLiveVR. The rates through AuroraLiveVR sometimes being 5 times the amount as actually stated on the artist's social media account. But once again, the talents themselves are asked to use their in-house talents first, including in some instances needing to pay back the model that was given to them from AuroraLiveVR, leading many ex-talents to wonder if AuroraLiveVR is more interested in bringing in new VTubers just so they have work to pay their artists. Some of these ex-talents equating this model to a pyramid scheme or multi-level marketing. Many current and ex-talents also finding that they were spending twice as much as they were earning, as they were also expected to pay AuroraLiveVR for the mixing of their song covers, which in the vast majority of the end product of these music videos and song covers were described as, quote, something a child could make. AuroraLiveVR also being a Chinese company, it was not uncommon to see a VTuber model that was no longer being used by a Chinese talent to then be given to an English talent, and then vice versa, as even in some instances, a model that an English talent was waiting on was then promptly given to a Chinese talent instead. Current talents also describing that Serafina has paid for all of her model upgrades and is very concerned with what AuroraLiveVR would do if she tries to leave, as it has been made very clear to former and current talents that the VTuber agency has once taken a VTuber to court and successfully sued them. So earlier we mentioned that this was the third attempt of AuroraLiveVR to break into the EN market. Well, what about those first 2 attempts? Well, in this instance, TVS was given a timeline by a former manager, themselves working as an in-between for the talents and the head manager of the EN branch, and who at this time will now be referring to as Snake Lady. This manager being promised time and time again they would also be able to be a talent and would be lined up for this Snake Lady model. There even still being a placeholder Twitch page as a part of the AuroraLiveVR team, this page entitled AuroraLiveVR Snake Lady. And as a disclaimer, numerous former talents warned TVS about this particular individual, many stating their dissatisfaction with them as a manager and saying further they crossed other boundaries. And while we could have presented numerous VTubers that have since left AuroraLiveVR, the vast majority of them simply no longer wish to be associated with the agency whatsoever. And so across the board, for all former talents, we will simply be using aliases. This former manager then laying out the timeline, stating AuroraLiveVR started off as an artist studio from 2 founders, a Chinese businessman and an artist by the name of Ichigo Usagi VR, creating their own Chinese VTuber branch and also an artist team by the name of Fairy Zero. This effort being such a success that Aurora arguably became the 3rd biggest VTuber in China, with Serafina being viewed nearly as much as Nijisanji English's Vox Akama at the height of his Bilibili fame in mid-2022. Aurora then decided to expand the English side, launching AuroraLiveVR, or ALVR for short. This former manager then going on to see an audition video, and AuroraLiveVR following up with one of their comments talents upon also seeing one of her singing streams. At first, the agency had 3 models available, including this white ferret. AuroraLiveVR now with these 3 models, then starting a Discord for candidates and those auditioning. This Discord, however, having no regulations, no bots, no mods, nothing, leading to some users to share a contract and potential models without having actually signed any non-disclosure agreements. The company settling on Snake Lady for that white ferret model, but still seeking candidates for the other 2 existing models, leading to Snake Lady to offer to find better candidates, one of whom became Lillian. From this point in 2022, things are looking up. Talents being asked to provide their preferences for custom emotes, animated emotes, overlays, animated backgrounds, slideshow graphics, and panels. And as some promotional videos are beginning to garner thousands of views, Snake Lady is then informed that she has to debut in only 2 weeks, further telling her that she will not be part of a generation but will instead be debuting solo. Snake Lady debuts as Juna Yoriko, this debut hitting the 3 digits but also being scuffed. But before even her second stream, everything falls apart, as Snake Lady, then Juna, is told by AuroraLiveVR to remove everything and delete all of her content. As it turns out, 2 of the 3 models had been outsourced to a small Chinese artist. This artist then Frankensteining and plagiarizing designs, as here we have the Hololive Japan talent, Tokiyama Toa, on the right, and then many copy-pasted elements for the Juna model on the left. Here also we had this instance of a goth Lolita character set to debut with AuroraLiveVR on the left and surrounded by numerous copy and pasted elements from other designs. AuroraLiveVR had actually sued this artist and had won the case, actually giving some of that money back to Snake Lady, but unfortunately much of the art that Snake Lady had bought for this character could not be compensated. Snake Lady, then Juna at the time, making this twit longer, reading, "I have some very bad news. I found out that my mama, the artist who we commissioned to draw my design, plagiarized the design. I have to rebrand everything and it is no longer usable. The design was given to be pre-assigned. I did not ask to copy these artists. Please understand this was not my decision, nor my fault, nor my company. The artist lied to us. I am so heartbroken. I will be making a new design. I need to change all of my branding and artworks. The company says I will have a re-debut under a new design. Please look forward to it and thank you for your understanding. This is a massive shock and a panic for me. I am so sad that our mama was not honest and stole work from other artists. I'll be getting a new artist, mama, and a whole new design." Snake Lady also making a message to the artists that were commissioned, saying, "I commissioned art from you for this design. I would like to beg you and plead that you let me change this once again, as it involved legal issues and plagiarism. You do not want artwork involved with plagiarism. I will get a new design to you immediately if you are willing to accept my commission for a new, original, completely legal design. I really want to commission you because I love your artwork. I just cannot have artwork of a plagiarized design. This would ruin your reputation and my reputation." Due to fallout from all of this, the contract with Snake Lady is canceled. And while a new contract has not yet been offered up, AuroraLiveVR wishes for Snake Lady to find more candidates for their English branch, telling Snake Lady that she'll have a new design to debut in a month or 2, and even telling her that she can design it herself. And as Snake Lady creates that new design, it ends up being leaked from that very same Discord, leading Snake Lady to once again scrap another design. At this point, AuroraLiveVR asks Snake Lady if she wishes to be a part of their staff to not only help with auditions, but also further making lore and names for new talents. And despite no pay being mentioned, Snake Lady agrees. AuroraLiveVR then tells the other upcoming talents that Snake Lady is a manager now, despite never having signed a contract. Snake Lady at the time being the lowest ranked manager and needing to report and have everything approved by the head English branch manager. This as AuroraLiveVR now does debut talents and in turn creates even more VTuber models. Snake Lady claims that some of the talents don't fit the models, but AuroraLiveVR wants them to join anyways. At this point, AuroraLiveVR already has 20 talents talents, with the company telling her that they want to have 100 talents by the end of 2022, and with the goal to become the next Nijisanji, saying even further that they've hired new managers that used to work for Nijisanji, and that when they quote-unquote make it big, she will be given a fantastic VTuber model. At this point, numerous talents began approaching Snake Lady about their debuts. However, the assets that are requested from these talents are either delayed or poorly copy-pasted between the talents, and not at all reflecting their preferences. At this point, Snake Lady is told by management that the talent's number of views and income determine how good of quality and how customized their assets will be, being told that if they make under $500 a month, they will not be given customized assets, and that they have to earn them. Management stating this is a healthy and normal system to only reward the successful, saying that in this way, people will feel a greater motivation for success and feel more achieved when they receive new assets. And now for an understanding of this setup, here is what everyone in AuroraLiveVR was supposed to receive, including a VTuber model that many of them had to pay back, along with logos, promotional videos, showcases, Chinese subtitling, and the buying of pre-made backgrounds. And then we have things that are based on income, things such as new outfit models, lore videos, animated emotes, and video editing, with special scenarios including original song production and a personal manager. This entire time, the artist team, Fairy Zero, has also been accepting commissions for models in English and China. AuroraLiveVR asked Snake Lady to help contact clients and coordinate commissions because Fairy Zero's own managers have poor English. Snake Lady even agrees to this, and even more models are made and more talents are being adopted. At this point, now rising to 30 talents with AuroraLiveVR, and yet with Snake Lady's very own model being pushed back more and more. Some of these talents going on to ask, why doesn't AuroraLiveVR tweet more? With the company then telling Snake Lady they don't understand Twitter, they don't have a social media manager, and they aren't sure what to post. This then leading to Snake Lady to offer to also handle the Twitter account. AuroraLiveVR then asking her to take it further, asking that she also take care of YouTube channels, the Discord, and even private YouTube channels for the talents. At this point, Snake Lady is even posting in the TVS Discord, trying to get the word out about AuroraLiveVR, and now realizing that she is in a full-time management job without pay. Eventually, months later, AuroraLiveVR finally does say that they wish to hire Snake Lady as a paid manager. This wearing Snake Lady as she had actually wanted to just be a talent, but AuroraLiveVR stating that she can be both. This now being late 2022, and these 30 talents now having issues with management. Both their overlays and models have been delayed. Talents are being neglected, and they don't know why they aren't debuting in groups or waves. And further disliking how the only way to contact higher-ups is through talking through one person, Snake Lady, who also happens to be the bearer of good and bad news at all times for the talents. At this time, 5 talents band together and leave all at once, with the remaining 25 talents asking for more management, official groups, and more updates on their art. At this point, Snake Lady is asking the higher-ups for more managers, with AuroraLiveVR saying they don't have a budget for paying for any managers except for her, and even saying that it would be unfair if they did bring on someone new and immediately started paying them, since they didn't pay her for months on end. Okay, so once again, it wouldn't be fair to pay someone new for months on end because they didn't pay someone else for months on end. AuroraLiveVR saying that their other Chinese managers have also went months without pay, and that this is quote-unquote normal to see if the staff is reliable and committed, like a quote-unquote trial period. When asked how long this trial period is, management tells her that the trial period varies and depends on the hard work of the staff member, but it is usually 6 months. Snake Lady tries to convince them that only 1 month is a better option, and they all finally compromise on 2 months. Further, AuroraLiveVR did not see the benefit or purpose of VTubers debuting in groups or waves. Snake Lady pushing back on this and finally getting the compromise, as long as Snake Lady manages the groups themselves. These 25 remaining members are then separated into groups of 4 to 5, and then is allowed to hire 3 managers, but also has to train each of these managers, and anything these managers do is Snake Lady's liability. And then things go not safe for work. As Snake Lady is hiring managers and they are back up to 30 talents, AuroraLiveVR tells Snake Lady that one of the managers needs to be a not safe for work specialized manager because they have a new not safe for work project. This project being a partnership between AuroraLiveVR and a smaller, lesser known agency in China called Eclipse. It'll be the next big VTuber like Project Melody, they say. They send Snake Lady the social media of the person they selected for the project, Snake Lady recognizing this application as one that she had rejected months ago. As it turns out, this applicant is in a wild cult of the KYS variety and actively posts triggering tweets. Snake Lady telling AuroraLiveVR this is a bad decision. AuroraLiveVR stating this was Eclipse's decision, not theirs. But if Snake Lady can find someone better, AuroraLiveVR will cancel the contract with Eclipse and sign on a new person. Snake Lady accepts this challenge and posts an audition looking for a new, not safe for work talent, Chinese skills being a preference but not required, and 3 to 5 years of commitment expected. At this time, it is now 2023. As AuroraLiveVR now reaches nearly 40 talents, many of whom have yet to debut, these talents become upset. Their models still being delayed, their assets still being delayed, production only being given to the talents that get views, and with more requests for management. Snake Lady being approved for 3 new managers as long as they work for free. One of these managers being so good that Snake Lady is actually relieved, saying that some of the responsibility and yes, even blame finally can be shifted off her onto someone else. Snake Lady and this other new manager, Manager X, working together and now finally realizing there are major flaws in the business structure of AuroraLiveVR. They plan to have meetings with each unit and personal manager to get their opinions and needs, with these personal managers having a lot to report. There are many complaints, but these managers have no authority to actually change any of it. At this time, the first unit of AuroraLiveVR finally debuts. Although most of the talents have actually technically debuted before, and the talents themselves don't even debut the same week like other companies would in a gen or wave. This being the push here from mid-February called Kaleido Sakai. At this point, the managers that are remaining are incredibly stressed, but are excited to finally be paid, as Snake Lady and Manager X are also receiving a pay raise. All the managers have a big meeting to discuss the changes they want to implement in AuroraLiveVR now that they are officially hired. A nice document is created and everyone is looking forward to when it is delivered to upper management, hoping for real change at last. However, AuroraLiveVR has other plans. The CEO tells the managers there's not been a lot of success with the current EN branch, and that it's the fault of the managers for not making the talents succeed. At this point, Aurora decides to fire every manager that Snake Lady had hired, as well as the head of the EN branch. They vow to never hire another overseas manager ever again, and only use managers that work in person at the headquarters in China. The talents are naturally outraged. AuroraLiveVR then giving all the talents an option: wait for the new management from China or leave. At this point, nearly all the talents choose to leave. Some deciding to buy out their models, others abandoning them completely. Many talents ghosting the company, others making public statements, and with some handing over their social media accounts and some not. Snake Lady is allowed to stay on, but only as a future talent, being told that in July her model will be ready. At this point, Snake Lady even admitting that she is jealous of those talents that got to debut, build a community, and leave, while she is still attached to AuroraLiveVR. At this point, it is April of 2023. The few remaining talents try to peacefully go about their schedules without any management or support. At this point, it is known that AuroraLiveVR has money and has sued a Chinese talent for speaking out against AuroraLiveVR when she left, so all the talents and managers are too afraid to speak up. As now it also turns out that many of the artists and modelers of AuroraLiveVR have also left in the previous months, leading to the quality and availability availability of art and models to have diminished greatly. At this time, Snake Lady in May of 2023 receives her last paycheck and resigns as a manager, but is still awaiting to debut as a talent. June and July of 2023 come and go. After giving the Chinese managers a shot and seeing no changes, 3 more talents decide to leave, leaving only 2 people left, Snake Lady and Lillian. At this point, Snake Lady has been with the company for a full year and requests to debut in August of 2023, but is denied, being told that her model is not yet rigged. This finally being the breaking point, stating that she has done all of the dirty work for AuroraLiveVR, gotten blamed for everything, had her own content put on the back burner, and lost her entire community. And despite doing everything she did, was never prioritized. AuroraLiveVR telling Snake Lady that she can leave now and keep all her accounts as compensation for all her work, or she can choose to stay with them and re-earn all her assets back, in which her accounts would have to be transferred in ownership to AuroraLiveVR. Finally, Snake Lady chooses to leave, and because her model was never shown to the public, AuroraLiveVR plans to reuse it. That all being shown off as recently as October 26, even though Snake Lady says the design and concept was thought out by her, arguing with the company for ownership of the model, but losing. And that is the story of Snake Lady, but that is not all. As now even more recently, TVS has been contacted by another former talent and manager, who for now we'll simply call Bunny Nurse. Bunny Nurse also confirming that yes, there was up to 40 talents at a point before their collapse in early 2023. And of these, only 5 properly debuted. Bunny Nurse also being offered to become a manager, even though they had simply just wanted to be a VTuber. And while we refer to this individual as Bunny Nurse, they were not actually given this model, instead being given a much younger looking model, despite having a more mature sounding voice. And upon asking if she could have this Bunny Nurse model instead, she was approved, but then later denied, being told that she wasn't good enough at singing. And so Bunny Nurse would go on to continue to use her younger looking model, even paying $1,800 out of pocket for a second outfit, sending this into AuroraLiveVR with design requests, and this outfit coming back as something very different than what was requested. And upon Bunny Nurse asking for them to adhere back to her design request, she was flat out denied, yet still charged the $1,800 US. In addition, Bunny Nurse would request toggles for this model, but also being denied nearly every one of those toggle requests. This also occurring for VTuber assets. Bunny Nurse sharing that when talents requested any assets from the in-house artist with AuroraLiveVR, the in-house artist would simply return things different from what was requested, leading numerous talents to seek out third-party artists and putting them all further into debt. Some asset requests were even fully denied, this apparently going against their actual contract. And so in one instance, when Bunny Nurse had, after 3 times asked management for a new background, they were given a new background. This background meant for someone else and not at all in line with their own theming. AuroraLiveVR telling Bunny Ghost to stick with her model and quote-unquote trust the company, a line that was used further when talents asked for deadlines for their debuts, once again being told to trust the company and wait. And when debuts did occur, management would only give them 2 to 4 weeks notice. Around this time, the talents were being grouped up, but apparently not due to their positives, but due to their negatives, such as this instance, one talent being talked about as she can't sing, she isn't good at games, she has no actual skills other than being sweet and having a big booba, and yes, that sells, but she doesn't even do ASMR. And speaking of ASMR, yes, many talents were pushed to that particular line of content as it was seen as a money maker. And when talents would push back, trying to branch out and not be trapped in just that form of content creation, they would receive further pushback from up high. Bunny Nurse also sharing there were numerous instances of information breaches. Management constantly sharing private DMs, even messages that explicitly said not to be shared, sometimes even being shared outside the company. And in another instance, management even sharing credit card information that was to be used for the company. More revealing, there was an instance when Snake Lady had been fired, but then rehired hired 1 week later, but in between, a not safe for work talent was brought on. This not safe for work talent being very open and even sharing messages from the Discord on Twitter, with one individual asking, "Don't send any identifying information, please." That not safe for work content creator replying, "Honey, I'm literally the first porn star of Aurora in here. My ass is already doxxed," leading many talents to worry that if this particular individual isn't worried about their own doxing, then will they be worried about doxing others? And as you see here, we have a staff member replying to that NSFW content creator with "Close your ear." Because as it turns out, the not safe for work content creator was replying to a minor. Staff here saying, if you guys want to go into more detail, make sure to go to a NSFW channel, as some of the talents are minors. Another staff member here saying, by the way, careful with the minors. And one of those minor talents labeling themselves as such here on the Discord. And now get ready for this swerve. One of the other minors being Charlotte Kaneko, who before AuroraLiveVR was with a group called Mysteria Live. The CEO of that group wanting this individual to roleplay as his daughter. Charlotte Kaneko graduating from AuroraLiveVR at the end of 2022, and then controversially joining Akio Air, that as the talent, Princess Nephilia. TVS being told that the contract with AuroraLiveVR only requires talents to be 13 years of age to sign on, asking that they have their guardian's permission and supervision, but no former talents ever confirming that they provided any photo identification of their age. This contract being regulated and enforced under the People's Republic of China, which also forbids any mention of territorial and sovereignty integrity, and as TVS is told, was also offered in 2 languages, Chinese and English, saying that in the case of inconsistency, the Chinese version would prevail, even if the signer did not understand the language. This contract further confirming 60 hours of live streaming was required a month, and that talents were not allowed more than 3 consecutive days off. Further backing a revelation from one of the current talents that if a talent earns less than $300 in 2 consecutive months, they're made to take part in a training session or training camp to learn how to make more money as a virtual idol. Lastly, penalties include up to $1,500 needing to be paid to AuroraLiveVR if a talent wishes to leave, but as we will find out, that number goes up. Bunny Nurse confirming that NSFW talent was fired, but was actually given a model as compensation and as an apology. And upon Bunny Nurse resigning, she was disparaged, but also given the option to buy her model or leave and pay a $2,000 fine, or give them, AuroraLiveVR, the rights to her $1,800 second outfit. And when Bunny Nurse tried to buy her model, she was then told, "Sorry, that's no longer an option. Pay us $2,000 or give us your $1,800 second outfit." Bunny Nurse gave over the $1,800 second outfit, and then within 48 hours of resigning, all talents and staff were fired anyways. And very lastly today, we turn to one of the co-founders of AuroraLiveVR, that being Ichigo Usagi VR, having now actually lost their Twitter account, going on to explain on Bilibili back on October 19th, "My Twitter account was signed up by a coworker, but in an act of revenge, I was logged out once I left my job. So I'll sign up for a new one later. Don't worry about it." Ichigo Usagi later posting up upcoming works for other VTubers, including Chibidoki, who was able to secure the work of this artist, and who otherwise has been very selective with who they work with many of the talents and AuroraLiveVR being told it would be an honor if they received a model illustration from the co-founder of the company. Once again, TVS has been reached out to by 24 former talents and managers with this particular VTuber agency. We're still vetting through other stories provided to us, but one point has been made clear through all of those who have reached out to us, that being that they do not wish to see anyone apply to this agency without first knowing of all of the issues that have come before. And that is all for this episode. Once again, we may have more to come about this particular VTuber agency in a future episode. Then, as we'd like to give a quick thank you to Kadalgan, offering up this stylish illustration for my 4th anniversary as a VTuber. That's right, it's been 4 years. That day further being celebrated by Nico Miura saying Happy False Day. That is also coming up on November 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern and 4 p.m. Pacific. We have a brand new cover song from our co-host Lady. Link to that premiere below, as now Lady is celebrating 2 years with TBS, kicking off a streamathon and running from November 22nd to the 27th. Once again, feel free to send in your VTuber news to our Discord. Check out our merch on uwumarket.com and we'll have more things VTubers say for you soon.